Come on in, guys. Are you ready to get to this week's challenge? This week, we're focusing on feedback and communication within Schoology. Feedback and communication is obviously critical to how we're using any tool. And the idea about moving Schoology beyond a content repository really kind of lands itself right here. If we're able to deliver some sort of feedback and communication with our students, we're going to hopefully transform the way that they learn within our classroom. This feedback and communication doesn't have to come just from us as teachers. It can also come from other students. So teaching students how to do self-reflection and how to reflect on other students' work is also just as important. For this week's reward challenge, you will be just thinking about feedback and communication within your own content and your own lessons. So how are you currently delivering feedback, and how might you change some of that feedback in the classroom? And then you're going to look at two blog articles, all of that have to do with giving feedback within Schoology. One is about rubrics and assignments, another is about using the feedback function and quizzes within Schoology. And after you're done with that, you're going to capture some of those thoughts and ideas in the Google Doc that's embedded below. Keep in mind, here we have a one-page assignment, and here we have a Google Doc actually embedded into the course. Thus, my students, in order to complete this task, never really have to leave Schoology except for to view these two blogs. But in this case, they can complete their work in the Google Doc right in the course. Great way to keep students on track. One of the other things I just want to point out in this reward challenge is you actually be taking a quiz about Shakespeare. If you know something about Shakespeare, great. If you don't, the reason that quiz is in there is to show you how the feedback function works in Schoology. So that quiz does not count towards any part of your grade other than maybe participation, but really it's to get you to understand what does the quiz feedback function work, or how does that work in Schoology. It can end up being a very powerful tool when we're doing some formative assessments. And for your immunity challenge this week, you will be designing 3 different types of feedback or communication for students in your classroom. You're going to be designing an announcement. It seems really simple, but thinking about what that announcement means, why it's relevant, why it's important, is a part of giving feedback and communicating with your students. You're going to be designing an assignment that lends itself to revision and feedback. The great thing about assignments is that you really can have a dialogue with your students. So they can submit their response. You can give them some sort of feedback. It doesn't have to be a grade. It could be audio feedback, an audio comment, or you could type some commentary on their paper, and then you can ask them to go back and revise it. The student, when they revise it, can have a dialogue with you, audio or text, and tell you either what they revised, what they learned, anything they're thinking about that process. You can go back in and again give feedback, and this can go on continually until you finally want to say this is your final project. And that's really how we're going to move students from just turning in stuff to turning in quality stuff. And finally, you're going to create a short quiz that uses the Schoology feedback function. And again, in order to capture your learning for the week, you're going to go ahead and use the Google Doc to record those thoughts. So let's get to this week's challenge.